Happy Friday, folks. It's Shayan with Integrity Home Mortgage, back with your weekly rates rundown for February 6th, 2026. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, not much has changed since last week. So let's take a look at the numbers. Since last Friday, 10-year Treasury yields are lower by about 3 basis points to 4.21%, and mortgage rates are also lower by about 2 basis points. Mortgage rates have demonstrated unusual consistency over the first few weeks of 2026. This was supposed to be a potentially exciting week, but all that changed when this short-lived potential government shutdown went into effect. As a result, the big headline of the week, which was going to be today's non-farm payrolls and unemployment report, got pushed to next Wednesday. So now next week has the potential to be a busy one, with several key data points around both jobs and inflation set to be released. But this week was quiet, and I, for one, am not complaining. Freddie Mac, according to Freddie Mac, 30-year fixed rate mortgages averaged 6.11% last week, or this week. That represents an 84 basis point improvement from where it was a year ago. And mortgage rates haven't consistently been below this level since 2022. So if you're going to go stalling out, this ain't the worst place to do so. And since rates have been so stable, let's focus a bit this week on housing, because while there might still be snow on the ground outside, spring selling season is just around the corner. Housing supply, the housing supply picture across the U.S. continues to be complicated. Active inventory is up about 10% year over year, but that's well off the 30 plus percent growth rate we saw at points in 2025. Nationwide, inventory levels remain well under pre pandemic levels, which makes sense given the fact that something like 65 or 70% of outstanding mortgages have a rate less than 5%. That's a powerful barrier for those properties to ever come to market. What are you going to do? You're going to sell your house with a low rate and a ton of equity just to buy something comparable at a higher payment? No, you're not going to do that. We call this the lock in effect. And it took us 15 years of a near zero rate environment to get us to the point where this lock in effect is so egregious. It's going to take us a while for us to get out of it. But between new builds and job changes and all the less fun reasons for housing turnover, like death and divorce and gambling debts, we continue to march slowly towards normalization. We're still far from the robust from a historical perspective, but we're making progress. Uh, so, U.S. existing home sales totaled just over 4 million units in 2025, which is basically flat from 2024, which was basically flat from 2023. That's the lowest it's been since 1995. Just to give you some perspective, in 1995, you might have caught me chilling like a villain at my home skillet's crib, looking fresh in a CK t shirt and some Gerbeau jeans and drinking some Crystal Pepsi. So that was a while ago. But January annualized sales of 4.35 million units suggest that maybe 2026 might see some marginal improvements in terms of inventory. We're also about to turn the corner from a seasonality perspective, too. We're in February now, and that tends to be the point at which inventory hits its its winter lows. It's been a cold and snowy winter for large parts of the country, which could play a role ultimately in exactly when we actually turn that corner towards spring selling season. But we should start seeing increased inventory and, as a result, increased purchase activity in a matter of weeks, not months. We're also seeing price reductions become more commonplace. 34% of home listings took price cuts in January, whereas only 2% had increases. So, does this mean that we're shifting from a seller's market to a buyer's market? Well, no, not quite there yet. But I think the combination of better rates, slowing price appreciation, and increased inventory might bring things into a bit of a better balance. So we're entering February in a bit of a holding pattern. But make no mistake, the same factors that we have been discussing for months now that have been driving rates will continue to do so. Jobs, inflation, and economic growth, big surprises on any of these variables could upset the status quo pretty quickly. With stabilizing with data stabilizing and mortgage rates holding near 3-year lows, housing inventory normalizing, and transaction volumes improved, although still pretty anemic. Let's call it a few steps towards a modest equilibrium, which I believe is a positive sign for both buyers and sellers, and really creates a great environment for transactions actually getting done. That's all I got for you this week. We will see you next time. Have a great weekend.